And as this war wages abroad, the fight over funding DHS here at home is reaching a boiling point, at least for anybody looking to fly. Travelers are waiting hours in security lines that are wrapping around airports. They are breaking records. News Nation national correspondent Brooke Schaefer is at Miami International Airport this morning once again. You know, Brooke, I've been trying to rack my brain. Have we ever seen anything like this before?
Well, if you talk to DHS, Marky, officials with the agency say that these are the longest wait times we have seen at our airports in history as more and more of these TSA officers continue to call out from work. In fact, on Tuesday was another significant day of worker call-outs. More than 3,000 TSA officers didn't show up. That's a call-out rate of more than 11% across the workforce, Marky. DHS says that's 5 times more than normal. And these are some of the numbers from some of our major airports. JFK, close to 40% of TSA agents were absent Tuesday. At Houston's Hobby Airport, nearly 50% of their staff did not show up on Tuesday. And TSA officials tell us the uptick in call-outs they are seeing now, they expect to only get worse as we approach Friday, tomorrow, the potential for these workers to miss another paycheck.
As they continue to miss paychecks, they're not going to be able to pay for rent, for food. They're going to be sleeping in their car. It's going to be going to get more and more difficult for them to come to work, and we're going to have more folks calling out and more lines that are long.
The Trump administration, as we've been reporting, has already sent ICE agents to some of our nation's airports. President Trump now floating the idea of even sending in the National Guard. Marky?
We know the acting.
Now, let me say something. Think about this. Now, just thinking about the past videos we've looked at, the ICE agents aren't doing anything. It's simply they are standing there, maybe acting as security, walking around. They're not checking bags, they're not checking IDs because they aren't allowed to and they aren't trained to do it. So the whole problem with it's not going to speed up the wait lines. So what's the point of even bringing them? But I mean, security is important, yes. But the whole problem is the wait lines that everybody's upset about. How do we fix that? Simple. Get these people paid.
TSA administrator yesterday saying it takes 4 to 6 months to even, screen some of these TSA agents. So if a deal was signed today, would we still be dealing with a problem for most of the year? And it seems like, Brooke, both sides are pretty far apart. Where does the funding fight stand this morning?
It seems like it's really at a stalemate right now, Marky. For Republicans, they have said that they have given Democrats everything they've asked for. They're accusing Democrats of moving the goalpost, but Democrats argue their position hasn't changed. But to your point there, Marky, TSA officials and DHS officials are saying that as this continues to drag on, there is real concern about what the long-term impacts could be at our nation's airports.
Thank you for watching. Subscribe.
Think about this. If this continues any further, who in their right minds will want to be a TSA agent if they know that this will most likely happen again? Let's go over into one more video just to get a little bit more information.
Oklahoma Senator Markwayne Mullin confirmed as the new DHS secretary last night and could be sworn in as soon as today. He takes over an agency that is currently shut down, with unmasked ICE agents being deployed to airports in an attempt to alleviate the TSA crisis. Some travelers hounding those agents, yelling things like, "Go back to your master, Donald Trump, go back to your master," and "ICE out now." President Trump saying if needed, he will send the National Guard into airports to support ICE.
I want to thank ICE because they stepped in so strongly. They'll do great. And if that's not enough, I'll bring in the National Guard. We're not going to have the Democrats destroy our country.
Political commentator Brylan Hollihan joins me now. Brylan, great to see you.
Thanks
so you flew here for this interview in an airport where ICE agents are currently stationed. As a young person, how do you feel about this move by President Trump?
Yeah, it's funny enough, I actually was just debating a student on a college campus a few weeks ago, and she said Republicans are evil because ICE agents are kidnapping people. And I said, well, in my eyes, they're not doing a good job of kidnapping people, because what kind of kidnapper takes people back home? That's not really what's happening here with this fake outrage. And fake outrage is exactly what it is. I flew here, had to wait in line in the Atlanta airport after class to get here for 2 hours. And this kind of thing should remind people when they sit through this chaos to look around and say, this is how badly Democrats want illegal aliens to get to vote, that they're willing to see you sit in line and suffer. So think a Democrat when you're waiting in these lines, but the outrage is true. Gen Z sees through it. All outrage is the entire modem of the Democrat Party. They don't have good candidates. They don't have good policies. So they're having to use fear-mongering to win the midterms. They did it in Minneapolis. Now they're doing it in airports, Carly. Gen Z sees through this. We're smarter than they think.
Well, House Minority Leader Hakeem Jeffries was on one of the Sunday shows and described ICE agents as untrained for airports and saying that they could brutalize or even kill travelers. So are you surprised when this conversation does come up when you debate college students on college campuses, if they're hearing messages like that from our political leaders?
Yeah, you know, the same people that said defund the police and then had to walk it back because when the police were attacked, and maybe called Trump a Nazi and then had to walk it back when he was attacked, are now going to have to walk back calling these people brutal murderers when ICE agents get attacked one day. I think it's an insane concept to call the same people that are protecting our homeland brutal murderers, because these people are, what's brutal in my eyes are the people that snuck across this border. What's brutal in my eyes are the people that killed a college student like me, Laken Riley, who was just on an afternoon run. It's not brutal to have somebody protect our most vulnerable ports, our airports, to make sure that that's a safe spot.
You know, I'm glad that you mentioned Laken, and we just were talking about Sheridan Gorman, another young college student who was just so senselessly killed. This one took place in Chicago. How do you feel about her death and the preventable nature of it? And does something like that resonate on college students, on college campuses with students?
Yeah, it's one thing to say that a border wall is racist. It's one thing to say that Republicans are racist. That fits really well on a bumper sticker. When you have conversations about real people, real victims, that's where it hits home of maybe these ideas aren't so crazy. Maybe they're actually protecting people.
Even among liberal students?
Absolutely, yes. And you know what's funny to me? I didn't hear Billie Eilish or any of the actors or any of these award shows wear a button with her name on it. They just want to talk about Renee Good, who was not killed by an illegal alien. Anytime somebody is killed by an illegal alien, you don't hear a utterance of their name because they don't care. This is politics to them. It's not victims, it's politics. So you won't hear a memorial for her. You won't see any fist raised or a statue put up in her honor. It's a tragedy, and we should remember, we should say her name, but they're not going to because they don't care. That doesn't fit their political agenda.
Brian Limby, thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Now, he said a lot of things. Now, if you support or if you don't, the question is, do you think ICE should be at the airports assisting, or is there not their place? Let's go over into the AI breakdown just to get a little bit more information on this whole thing, or how we feel about the National Guard coming there to support them, or should they even go there in the first place? So President Donald Trump is considering deploying the National Guard to the U.S. airports to address the extreme security wait times during the shutdown. As of March 26, he is currently here's the current situation. So we got no formal activation has been announced yet. He stated this on Truth Social that he may call it the National Guard. So hundreds of ICE agents have already been reassigned to more than a dozen airports, including the Atlanta, to assist the crowd control and line management. So remember, y'all heard that, right? Crowd control and line management. So basically just making sure people stand in line and make people don't get upset and start going crazy. They aren't helping speed up the lines, aren't helping speed up and open up more lines because they aren't trained to do that. Legally, ICE and National Guard personally cannot conduct actual passenger or baggage screenings as they require specialized TSA training. Their roles are limited to guarding exit lanes, monitoring crowds, and providing general support to existing TSA staff. So would it even help? Probably not. I'm hearing some instances where it's taken 6 hours. 6 hours to get through a TSA line at some of these airports. I would have missed my flight because I wouldn't have even thought to come up there 6 hours early. So wild situation. Tell me about the situation that's any of the airports that are near y'all. What's the wait times looking like there? How early do you show up to the airports? Especially during times like these. Absolutely tragic and crazy situation, y'all. But let me know your thoughts and let me know if you disagree with anything I said.